Hey everyone, and welcome back to Country Music Made Me. Thank you so much for joining us once again. As always, please make sure to like, share, follow, subscribe to us on whatever streaming service you are listening on. Leave us a review, a rating, tell your friends, your family, your neighbors to come on over and have a listen. That support is huge. Today, we're sitting down with Trey Smith and Jennifer Fielder of SmithField. Now, they came together about 10 years ago to form a country music duo, but their relationship goes back much farther than that. We had a great time talking about their past, their current EP, Newtown, and defining success in a town that says you should find success in 10 years. So please enjoy our conversation with Trey and Jennifer of SmithField. Welcome to Country Music Made Me.
Good to be here.
Now, I know that you guys have the cliff notes of how you met. Now, I want to dive in a little deeper. Where did the musical influences come from for you? Were your families musical in bringing that into you?
Yeah, this is kind of cool. Both of our dads, on our dad's sides, is where the musical influence comes from. So my dad has a family of 5 brothers and sisters, and all of them were musically gifted. 2 out of the 5 are actually music teachers and have been their whole lives. They could all sing. They could all, be in musicals. And so music always ran on my dad's side of the family, but my mom can't carry a tune. So definitely for my dad and Trey, you want to tell them how your dad influenced you?
Yeah, my dad used to play the guitar for us all the time growing up, like all the time he'd play and sing for us. So that was just always in the house. And his side of the family was very musical. My mom's side of the family was pretty musical too. So I kind of got it from both directions.
So early on, did they guide you towards music, or were you both able to sort of find it on your own terms?
I wasn't guided at all, really. Music was always in our house, but they never really made a concerted effort to be like, hey, do this. It's just kind of something I was interested in naturally.
Yeah, your dad used to sing to you to sleep every night, right? Though that was the thing.
Yeah, he would, but they would catch me singing. So actually, I used to sing myself to sleep when I was a little kid.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
So like most people sing the child to sleep, I would just sing to myself and fall asleep. So I just always loved singing.
My parents helped me a lot. I think my mom noticed that I could sing when I was like 3 years old. I don't know if you remember this movie, but Sister Act.
Yep, of course.
I think it was the second one that came out, or maybe it was the first one. I don't remember. My mom would remember, but I would sing along to every song as a 3-year-old and like be right on like pitch. And so my mom noticed that. And when I got older, we would always go to country music shows in Dallas, Texas. And I actually got to see like Leanne Rimes sing when she was really, really young, maybe like 12 or 13. And I just remember, I think I was like 6 or 7 and telling my mom, like, Mom, that's what I want to do with my life. Like, that's what I want to do. So as soon as I got old enough to audition, she took me to that very same show. And I grew up singing on that show till I was in Smithfield.
Yeah, that was Star Search, right?
No, it was called Johnny High's Country Music Review.
Oh, okay.
So Johnny was really the first person to discover her, and lots of like artists that we know. Kelly Clarkson was on that show. Steve Holy, Lee and Womack. Basically, if you were from Texas and you were in country music, Johnny High's was one of the places you would want to be on for sure. So anyways, yeah, that's kind of how we both individually started.
And Jennifer, you started performing out, touring around the local area when you were about 9, right?
Yes. So I started in churches and then just really loved country music. Like I just said, that show I grew up watching was like what I wanted to do. So in Texas, we have like a lot of small towns that town has an Opry of its own. So like our little hometown we're from, Waxahachie, there was the Waxahachie Opry and the Dallas Opry and the Red Oak Opry. And so I grew up performing my whole life in Texas at these little Opries.
Trey, for you had a band sort of later on in late high school, college, I believe. So before that, what was your musical aspirations sort of early on and into elementary, high school? Did you have those early aspirations of making this a career?
Well, I didn't sing in front of anybody until I was about 18 years old.
Oh,
So
wow.
I was in my room to myself and shower singer strictly until that point.
Except for our families.
Right.
Except for families, but like there were rare occasions I would sing, but I really didn't ever let anybody know I could sing or play guitar or do anything until 18 years old. I got signed up for the high school talent show. And that was the only thing I thought I was any good at. So I did that, and I just got a bunch of compliments afterwards. And that kind of boosted my confidence to pursue music.
And now let's talk about the meeting when you were 10 and 12 at a family gathering was sort of when you first connected for what would become SmithField. Now, during that, I read that you were actually supposed to be sort of meeting to date rather than to sing. And
Well,
so
you
what
did.
happened with that?
Yeah, that was my cousin. So, and it was a big deal because she kept telling me, she was like, there's going to be this girl, Jennifer, coming to the party tonight, and you guys should date. And she told me that Jen was the same age as me, which she's only 2 years younger than me. But I went with the false pretense all night that she was the same age as me. And when I found out she was actually 2 years younger than me, it was a big deal.
Yeah.
And so I made a big deal. I was really mad at my cousin. Like, I can't believe that you told me that she was in 7th grade and she's in 5th grade. And apparently it was a huge deal to a 12-year-old that they were 2 years younger. But
So did you guys sort of have any connection that night, or was it more just the families came together and you were sort of in the same room?
no, we were awkward little preteens. We didn't do anything.
Yeah, I think we were both so like nervous and scared about liking each other or something like that. But I will say it was the first night we both heard each other sing because, like we said, like Fireplace was our first stage. So Trey's dad and family were like, oh, Trey's learning to play the guitar now and he's got a real good voice. So Trey gets up on the Fireplace and sings. And then my side of the family was like, oh, well, Jen, she started performing on this show in Arlington and she loves country music. So we're going to make her get up there and sing. So we sang separately in the same rooms that night. So I guess there's a connection there because that was the first memory I ever have of meeting Trey, of knowing that Trey could sing, because all these years go by and Facebook sort of is what kept us connected.
Right.
And I would always see that his rock band, so he joined a rock band right after high school, and I'd always see his rock band play, and he would always see flyers for me playing, whatever small town in Texas, but we hadn't seen each other sing since that night.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool.
And Trey, I need to learn about your hair metal phase. Talk me through this. Did you have the flowing locks to go with it?
Yeah, I thought I buried that stuff deep enough where nobody would find it. But yes, the locks were real. They were down past my shoulders, and they were luscious.
Yeah, his hair was longer than mine.
Yeah, it was very rocker.
And so the rock band that you joined after high school, you talk about before 18 not wanting anyone to know you sang. So what was it after that talent show and after getting the compliments that made you want to redirect and follow that path a little bit more?
I don't know, man. I guess it was just like I'd been waiting for the go ahead, I guess, my whole life to just pursue it. No one had really told me that I was any good at it other than like my parents and stuff, which thanks, mom and dad, but like, got to take that with a grain of salt. And I think just after that, all of these, this want to do it just leapt out of me. And I started wanting to write music and play music. And I started trying to form a band. And it was just like all systems go after that.
And so that rock band, was that college phase, or was that something that you were actually focused on? Maybe this could be a career for me now.
It was supposed to be a career. That's kind of how I was seeing it. I was like, we're going to be a rock band and we're going to move to LA or New York and we're going to pursue this thing and get big and sign to whatever record label. And, but as those things go in college, like you're all trying to figure out what you want to do and what your profession's going to be. And some of them were just like, hey, I love it as a hobby, but that's not really what I want to do with my life. And I respected that, totally fine with that. But I had to be like, that's what I want to do with my life. So I need to figure out, the pathway to do that.
And you talk about Facebook and staying connected. When your rock band fell apart, that's when you connected on Facebook to talk about the music thing. Now, I believe, Jen, that I heard that you said yes simply because you didn't want to hear it from your family about the fact that you weren't going to at least give it a try singing with Trey.
Yeah.
That is very true. His cousin, she did Thanksgiving with my family for years, and she's like, man, I've just watched you two sing separately your entire life, and I really think you'd be so great together. And I had never thought about being in a duo, and I knew I'd wanted to be in Nashville. I knew I wanted to do country music. But at that time, I thought, it hasn't really worked out for me at this point. Maybe I'd be better on the business side of things. I was in between. And when she had brought up Trey, I was like rolling my eyes. I was like, okay, I guess. Yeah, tell him to reach out to me. Simply because like our grandparents are so tight and talk, and our parents talk. And it was like, if I say no, they're going to think I'm just so nasty and awful and mean. And so I felt like I had to. And I honestly, I didn't know if Trey was really any good or not, because I hadn't seen him since we were 12 and 10. So yeah, that definitely, the family tie is what brought us together. Because if he had been just some random person, I would have probably been like, no.
And Trey, what was it for you that made you comfortable moving into the countryside? Because it had always been rock for you. So what was it that made you think, well, maybe I should give this country music a try?
It wasn't always rock. So when I was a little kid, I idolized Garth Brooks. He was like my guy. And I always listened to country growing up. That was the phase in my life I was in. It was all about rock and roll. But it was actually a guy named Keith Urban that kind of pulled me back into country, because he was doing a lot of things in kind of the rock realm with country and kind of interweaving the two. And I heard his stuff one day and I thought, man, that sounds a lot like what I already do. Like maybe what I do can exist in country. And then the domino, if you will, that set it all off was I was in the car one day and I heard a song called Need You Now, Come On by Lady Antebellum.
Right.
And I heard those two voices and the way they blended, the girl and the guy, Charles and Hillary. And I just thought that was the coolest thing. And the song was on Top 40 radio at the time, so it was a crossover. And I just thought, what a great idea. I love that concept. I need to find something like that. And then right around that time is when my cousin was like, hey, you remember Jennifer? And it all just kind of came together,
And what was the first meeting like? Was it pretty instant that you thought, okay, yeah, maybe there is something here?
Yeah, when we started singing, I would say when you first came, it was kind of awkward because it's kind of like, yeah, your family told me you're good. It's just an awkward thing to walk into. But when when Trey brought out his guitar and we were talking about, songs that we both know, obviously didn't know a ton of country, but I love Keith Urban and I love Lady A as well. And there's some of my favorite acts in country music. So when he was like, well, I know a couple Keith Urban songs, you want to try that? Let's just see if we can even harmonize together, because you can have, two great singers, but they may not sound great together, or they may not have a good blend, Mm-hmm. But we really realized right off the bat, that very first Keith Urban song we ever sang, we were like, wow, okay, we sound great together. Mm-hmm. And I remember our first show, we didn't even look at each other. We had no idea how to be in sync with one another, but that natural, God-given talent and the blend was always there. From the very first meeting, it was always there.
Yeah.
And you started in 2011 going down to Nashville, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, was that for a talent show? Did you go down competing in a talent show or something at first to Nashville?
It actually was.
Was it a talent show? I don't know. It was kind of like a CMA Fest, showcase kind of thing.
Okay.
That I had, I was performing in Carthage, Texas. And this girl told me that I can't remember the guy's name, but that he runs this thing during a big festival called CMA Fest. And I was like, okay, well, that's cool. I've been wanting to try to sing in Nashville. I'll reach out. And so I had a couple shows booked with him. And then right around that time, that's when Trey and I started singing together. And I was like, well, if we're really going to be a duo, how about you come with me and let's really try it out. Let's see if we could fit in here. If this is something we want to pursue together.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And what was that experience like? Did that really sort of solidify that this is where we need to be and this is what we want to do moving forward?
Honestly, what solidified it was when we were here for that show she's talking about. Her roommate had heard us practicing one day back in Texas, and she thought we were really good. And she said, "Hey, you guys are going to Nashville in a few weeks. I have a cousin that lives in Nashville and he works in the music industry. You guys should meet with him." And we just thought it was going to be some guy that just works out of his house and is in the music industry.
Right.
And he ended up being an agent for William Morris, which is one of the largest talent booking agencies in the world. And we went in and met with him one morning, and he told us right off the bat, he was like, "All right, you got about 30 minutes." And there was nobody in the office. He brought us in early in the morning. So now he's told us now that he brought us in that early in case we sucked, which we ended up spending like 2 hours in his office, played him some songs. And he was just at the end of the meeting, like, "If you guys are really serious about doing this, you need to move to town and I'll help you out trying to introduce you to people. But the first step is you need to move here."
Yeah.
So we left that day, went back to the hotel and just looked at each other and said, "Let's do this."
And what did your parents think when you made that decision?
I think they were all excited because, they had watched us both like love music our whole life. And they just really wanted, their kids to see their dreams come true. And I think that that's a really special thing because that's not always the case.
Yeah.
A lot of parents would say, "Oh, well, make sure you get your college degree, make sure you go work this job and do this and do this." And I think there's a little bit of that in there, but
Right.
Overall, they both, when they came with us on that trip and they walked in William Morris with us and they saw that there's like people that really give their lives to this, that really move here and can really make a living doing it. And I think when they saw all of that and experienced it with us a little bit, that they were like, "Okay, we need to let our babies fly here. Let's support this. Let's get them here."
Yeah.
And a year to date after that meeting, we loaded up a U-Haul and our dads drove the U-Haul and we rode with our moms in our cars and we all moved to Nashville.
And Jennifer, you had been part of sort of the industry since you were 9. And Trey, you were sort of in it since college. So that background, did that help you in moving to Nashville and being prepared for what was to come in the grind and what you needed to do? Or was that a real big wake-up call?
I would say wake-up call for sure.
Yeah.
I felt like I knew something about it when I moved here. And I mean, I'm still learning to this day. I mean, there's always new things to learn about the industry. It's definitely a big learning curve when you move here.
Absolutely. We've been through a couple record deals now and like lots of business things and contracts and like things that I never thought I would have to face. It's like, then I guess I was like 21 or 22, that I look back on, I'm like, oh my gosh, I knew nothing. I thought I knew everything and I knew nothing. But I will say the experience of performing and probably your experience in the band of like fronting it and writing songs, I would say like that prepared us to get here and be creative and be good at what we did.
Yeah,
but
that part of it.
We've gotten, significantly better as a duo as time went on, just because even though our whole lives we've done music in some way, shape, or form, we hadn't done it together. So we really we grew up here in Nashville as a duo,
Mm-hmm.
Experienced a lot of life here and yeah, we knew nothing.
And being a duo, has that helped support you along the way in being able to support each other? Do you ever think if you had tried to do this as a solo act, if you would have made it as far because you wouldn't sort of have each other to lean on?
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
I 100% think so. I mean, he's like my teammate. He's my best friend. Our ups and downs are together. I think I maybe lasted, if I was lucky, a year in this town by myself, for sure. I think it's just the way you're wired. And I think that we were wired to be in a group duo team setting. And I think it helps to have that other person go through what you're going through. Because it's hard, there's no way to sugarcoat the music industry. Even if you have success quickly, it's still hard, no matter what level that you're at. So I'm glad that I have somebody to go through it with.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I've always been kind of a band guy and always enjoyed being part of a group or a duo or something, but it's nice to have somebody that's, always going through the exact same thing that you are in the industry and able to kind of ping pong back and forth on.
And can you count on one hand the amount of times where you got into a room and said, you know what? Let's just go our separate ways. Let's become solo acts. Let's just let this all go, like within the ups and downs of this career. Do you have those times?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean,
not to be a solo act. I think it's more so just like,
I give up.
Are we still supposed to do this? Because so many things that you think you're going to work out don't always work out the way that you plan them.
Yeah.
And so we'd be lying to you if we said we didn't get frustrated, or, it's no secret that there hasn't been a female male duo in the country space really break in about a decade. And I think we're probably the closest act to doing it, but we still, I guess, quote unquote, haven't fully broken through with the radio piece. And so I think, there's times we get frustrated and we're like, this is so special. Like, why can't so-and-so see that? And why are we so, all the questions that go through your head. But, and then of course, like we don't always get along, but the important thing is that we are open about it and we work through it. And we've been through so much stuff together. I mean, we're honest with each other. I think that's why we've lasted, coming up on a decade. People are shocked when they hear that. They're like, God, you guys have been together a long time. That's impressive. Because a lot of groups and duos break up. But again, it's the way you're wired, how you work with that other person, your communication, and realizing that it's not all about you. When you can accept that, if you can't, you need to be a solo artist. But if you can, then you might be made to be in a duo or a group, because it is about the people working together and the decisions you make together, for sure.
And did you both figure that out early, or did that take some time to develop that give and take and realizing that this is a partnership and you have to have that give and take? Did that take some time to develop between the two of you?
Oh yeah. There were probably a few knockdown dragouts in the very beginning where we kind of had to figure out where each other stood and how best to deal with problems and stuff. Just like any relationship in your life, you spend a lot of time with somebody and you're going to figure stuff out about them.
That's right. Yeah. We call this like our duo marriage, because we genuinely have to make every decision together, whether it's songs or where we play or who we meet with or whatever the decision is. It's not all me and it's not all Trey. It's what we decide together. And definitely fight like a married couple, not fight, but we're different people. At the end of the day, we are SmithField, but we're still individual people with our own ideals on things.
Talking about, something that we're very passionate about, both of us. So it's always coming from a good place, but just like anybody, we don't always agree on everything. So just got to work it out.
Yeah. And that took a long time. I would say almost maybe, we're still figuring it out, but right. I think after that first year is really hard to leave everything behind, your families, and be in a whole different state and not really know anybody and just know each other. On top of that, even though we've known each other our whole lives, we hadn't been a band that long. So there was a huge learning curve that first year. But once we got through that, I was like, okay, I think we can make it through anything.
Yeah.
And I was going to ask about the writing process for you guys, because you have these harmonies that you have to work out together. You have lyrics that obviously you want to resonate with both of you. And then you have the music that you want to be, your sound. And so in the writing room, how does that all come together? Does it just depend on the write, or do you focus on certain things as you go through the process?
Yeah, I think it just depends. Sometimes we have something we want to focus on, or there's like a certain kind of song we're aiming for, or there's just something that one or both of us are going through that we want to write about. And then sometimes you go in and you just start having a conversation and somebody's got a cool melody or a cool title or something that you just connect with. Maybe you've gone through that personally at some point, or just know somebody that has. So I'd say it's a case by case basis.
Yeah, we always try to bring in an idea to the right. They're not always good, but we always try to at least be prepared with a couple of ideas. Trey's really great with melodies, and he's good at everything. But I usually come in with like a title or just an idea or a story. Sometimes that's straight. Again, just depends on the day, what we're going through. But we really try to write songs that are genuine to us. whether it's, a song that is just all about what Trey's been through, or a song that all about I've been through. We try to find a way where we can both have our voices in that song and in that subject matter. Writing for a female male duo is a little bit of a challenge. It's a very different way of thinking, because you have to think about the language that you're saying. It's like, okay, well, that's really cool, but a guy wouldn't say it like that, or a girl wouldn't say it like that.
Right.
And so it's really thinking about lyrically, not only what fits SmithField, but also what fits a male's perspective and a female's perspective. And then, having to blend the harmony and everything. Sometimes we write with track people too, and that track will come back and maybe it's super, super poppy. And we're like, okay, well, this is cool. But when we get in the studio, if we record it, we're going to have to, put our own influences in there, because we wouldn't do it like this. So yeah, it's just always different. It depends on who it's with and who's in the room and what we're feeling that day. But it's definitely a challenge.
Yeah.
And coming into 2020, now you released an EP in 2019. And so coming into 2020 with the Newtown EP, was that an EP that you were already considering, or was it because of everything that happened early in 2020 that you thought, well, let's record another EP and get it out there?
We'd already been considering it for a while. In fact, we did a crowd-funded thing through Kickstarter to raise the money to do it with our fans. We actually raised $40,000.
Oh, wow.
To do it. So we'd been considering it for a while, and actually, as fate would have it, the week after we had been in the studio recording the Newtown EP is when the entire world shut down.
Oh, okay.
We were one of the last sessions in that studio before it all just went away. And so we had planned the EP the whole time. What we hadn't planned on was obviously COVID coming in and kind of altering our release plan. So we recorded the EP more than a full year before we actually released it.
Wow, that's interesting, because I was going to ask, with the EP, if 2020 helped, because you were able to sort of sit down and find sort of the new you, because you've talked about this being 2.0, SmithField 2.0. But that's interesting, the fact that you had it done before 2020 and you knew what you wanted coming into this year. And so that must have been a pretty difficult thing, sitting on that for the year.
Yeah, it was definitely tricky to figure out how to do it. And 2020 was a pretty quick year leading up to the pandemic shutting everything down, because most of the songs on the EP we wrote between January and March of 2020.
Oh, okay.
And then all of that happened.
Yeah, it was really, really hard, because we thought, okay, well, we'll give this 3 months, because nobody knew what was going on. And we were like, well, we'll give it 3 months and everything will be back to normal. Then we'll release it. And then 3 months went by and it was like, oh, okay, we're still in this. Okay, we'll wait till, another 3 months. And then it's like November and it's Thanksgiving. And we're like, well, now people are into Christmas music. Mm-hmm. And we just kept pushing it back. But it honestly worked out, the best possible way it could. It was meant to be to come out this year.
Yeah.
New sense of energy. Everybody was ready to sort of, get out of lockdown and live their lives again. And so I think it worked out the best that it was supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
And you were able to play the album release show at 3rd and Lindsay. Now, how did that feel, considering the amount of time you were sitting with these songs to finally be on a stage playing them?
It felt really great.
Rusty,
yeah.
I was like, oh, we haven't seen people in a long time.
A little bit weird, to see people's reaction, because they're new to everybody else and old news to us, because we've been sitting on for a year.
Yeah, it was exciting though. I mean, it's like we fell in love with what we had been doing all over again. Mm-hmm. Honestly, before the pandemic, we were pretty burnt out. We've been on the road for what felt like 3 years straight in a Sprinter van, so not even in a bus, if you can imagine the amount of hours spent on the road. So yeah, it was just a renewed sense of energy to be back on the stage. And I think maybe halfway through, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm good at this. I remember how to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And now that stage performance, talk about that and that connection that you try to make on stage? Because you talk about sort of your first performances 10 years ago and not even looking at each other. But I know now you talk about creating that connection that really adds something to the music when you're playing it live because of the emotional connection that you guys can put together on stage.
Yeah, I always say, like, our live show is truly the magic of SmithField. I think that, it's easy nowadays with technology for anybody to sound great on a recording. But like we truly are, like, when you come see us live, what you hear on the recording is going to be pretty dang close to what you hear live. Unless there's bad sound, like that's out of our control. But if there's good sound and we come in prepared and we put on a pretty killer, that's my favorite part, is our live performance, because that's what I grew up doing.
Yeah.
But I also think, going back to our roots, we have this natural chemistry live that just, off stage, we're pretty chill, just sweet Texas people. Like, you would never think that what we portray on stage is not us at all when we get off stage. We become like, I don't know, just like totally different people.
Totally.
We come to life and it's like this sexy energy, chemistry, and I don't know. It's so fun to play up and to do and be. It's us being genuine. It's just, we really come to life on stage. So that is the magic of SmithField, is hearing our harmonies live and how we perform these songs with each other and how we tell the stories together. I think, it really connects for you on what we're all about when you get to see a live show of ours.
Yeah.
And as annoying as it might be to continually get asked if you're a couple, if you get asked that by a fan after a show, is that a positive thing because you did your job right in creating that connection?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I always say. If they're asking that, then we did our job, because when you're singing a love song, you got to sell it. I mean, you can't just look straight forward and, never have any kind of chemistry or anything. A show is entertainment first and foremost.
Yeah. I mean, I love the fan too that comes up and goes, "Oh my gosh, I know I shouldn't ask, but I gotta know, are you guys together?" Like, just watching y'all. And like, when we know that, we're like, no, we're not. Or the other common one is because we look a lot alike, I guess people think we're brother, sister, which is like the total opposite of what we want, because that would be super awkward. But yeah, those are the two like most common things people ask us. And I think that's part of the fun, it's like part of what we get to do on stage. And if you feel that and want to ask that, then like Trey said, we did our job right.
Yeah.
And you talk about this album being 2.0. Now you're in your 10 years in Nashville, in the 10-year town. Now, is it tough to gauge that? Because success can mean so many different things to so many people. Success could be making a living and you have food in the fridge, or success can be seeing your face on a billboard on the Nashville sign. It's such a wide range. So do you have to take that into consideration when you're looking within yourselves to see, where am I at within this career and what does it all mean?
It's a great question.
Absolutely.
And that's hard to answer because, again, we have different personalities. Like, for me, there's days that I'm like, well, I don't hear us on the radio. We don't have a CMA award and we're not in arenas yet, because those are all like our big picture dreams. But then I think about, okay, well, if it all ended tomorrow, would I be proud of what I've done? Would my kids and grandkids think I'm the coolest thing ever because I sacrificed, a lot of things like family and a marriage and my home and everything to be here and do this with my best friend? We've played the Opry. We've played all over the country. We've had a #1 record. We have been on the radio. Like, when I look at all the things we've accomplished, I'm like, I have to change my definition of what success is. And I'm still in the process of doing that, because I do want all these things. But at the end of the day, we have been successful in a lot of ways. And so, yeah, we're able to pay our bills and do what we love to do. How long can we do that for is TBD, but it's been 10 years. So it's like, I don't know. Trey, what would you say? Do you feel like we're...
Yeah, I think at this point, we just always talk about creating a sustainable, long-lasting career, because we have fans that love our music, and we have an audience, and we have a platform, and we've been blessed enough to be on platforms in the past to give us all that. So I think it's about defining your success. But I mean, if I can make a solid living, have a family, and be happy and do something I love to do every day, I feel like that's the ultimate goal for everybody, right? And then if the big pop happens along the way, if the arenas come, if the awards come, then that's the bonus, right?
And now you're going to be heading home at the end of this month to play a show, correct?
Yes.
Now, what does that mean? Because you're just outside of Dallas. So you could play a show in Dallas, and technically it would be a hometown show. But what does it mean to be performing in your own community?
Oh, man. It's going to be emotional, I think, because we haven't played there ever since we moved to Nashville. And, Miranda Lambert has a song called Famous, Everyone Dies Famous in a Small Town. That's going to be me and Trey. Like, this town is our roots, right? Like, we would not be who we are as individuals without this town. We would not be SmithField without this town, and our families knowing each other and the history. And, we're planning a really special part in the show where we're going to, towards the end, like, show the whole town really truly how unique and special that this is, that two people have come together and done what we've done from this small town Texas. So we're going to give a shout out to our parents to stand up, then to our grandparents, our aunts and uncles and cousins. And then eventually we're going to say, if you are a friend of ours, please stand up. And I hope that the whole town does, so they can see like what this truly means to us. I think I might cry in that moment, but we're so excited to just come back and show all that we've built. And some of these people have followed us for a decade and they've never seen us live. So I think it's just going to be a really, really special show for us.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
When you talk about that success and gauging success, I imagine that show is going to be a great reminder of just how far you have come and what you do have.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think, you're a product of where you come from, and, we're blessed enough to have some good roots and some good people supporting us. So it's very serendipitous to be able to go back and then just entertain them and show them what we've done.
I love that you said that, because I think it will be a great reminder for us, just sitting here talking about like, well, we're not in arenas or we're not here, but like to these people, we are there. Mm-hmm. And this show means everything to them. We're the biggest thing that's come through the town in probably a decade. So I think it will, it's easy to get stuck in the Nashville bubble when, everybody in the world that is big in country music lives here, and you get bogged down by that. But when you get out of that bubble and you see like what you've created outside of that, like we need that as artists, we need that as people, we need that, like our heart and soul needs that. And so I really love that you said that, because I think it will be a major reminder that we have come so far.
That is amazing. Well, congratulations on everything. Congratulations on the EP and the success you're seeing with it. It really feels like you say, this is 2.0, and this is your time to take off and really gain that traction that you've been waiting for 10 years. So congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much for hanging with us.
Yes.
Thank you once again so much for listening, and thank you to Trey and Jennifer for stopping by and sharing their story. Be sure to check out SmithField's new EP, Newtown, wherever you stream your music. Please also be sure to like, share, follow, subscribe to us wherever you are listening. You can leave us a review, a rating, tell your friends, your family, your neighbors to come on by and have a listen. That support is huge. Thanks once again for listening, and we'll see you next time on Country Music Made Me.